Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the labyrinth of time, unraveling the mysteries of our collective past. Today, we find ourselves at the threshold of a metropolis that would become a beacon of hope, innovation, and resilience, New York City. In the early 16th century, the region that would eventually become New York City was inhabited by the Lenape Native American tribe, who called the area Lenapehoking, meaning land of the Lenape. The Lenape people lived in harmony with nature, residing in small villages along the Hudson River and its tributaries. They were skilled hunters and gatherers, utilizing the rich resources of the region to sustain themselves. Their traditional way of life was marked by a deep connection to the land and a spiritual reverence for the natural world. As we explore the historical context of this period, it is essential to note that the Lenape had encounters with European explorers, including Giovanni da Verrazzano, who sailed into New York Harbor in 1524. However, it was not until the early 17th century that European settlement began to take hold. In 1609, Henry Hudson, an English explorer working for the Dutch East India Company, sailed up the Hudson River, which he believed was a passage to the Pacific Ocean. This event marked the beginning of Dutch involvement in the region and would have far-reaching consequences for the indigenous population. The Dutch West India Company, granted a charter by the Dutch government to establish colonies in North America, played a significant role in the early history of New York City. In 1624, the company established a settlement on Governor's Island, which was followed by the establishment of a fort on the southern tip of Manhattan, known as Fort Amsterdam. The fort served as the center of the Dutch colony, known as New Netherland, and was the hub of trade and commerce with the Native American inhabitants. As the Dutch colony grew, so did tensions between the Europeans and the Lenape. The Lenape, who had grown dependent on European trade goods including guns, ammunition, and metal tools, began to feel the pressure of encroaching settlement and the loss of their traditional way of life. In 1626, the Dutch Director General, Peter Minuit, purchased the island of Manhattan from the Lenape for $24, a transaction that would have far-reaching consequences for the future of the city. This event marked a significant turning point in the history of New York City, as it paved the way for further European settlement and the displacement of the indigenous population. The early years of Dutch colonization were marked by conflicts with the Lenape, including the Pavonia Massacre of 1640, which resulted in the deaths of over 100 Lenape individuals. This event highlights the complex and often tumultuous relationship between the European colonizers and the Native American population. Despite these challenges, the Dutch colony continued to grow with the establishment of settlements in Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. In the mid-17th century, New Amsterdam, as the city was then known, began to flourish under the leadership of Director General Peter Stuyvesant. The city's population grew rapidly, with immigrants arriving from all over Europe, including England, France, and Germany. This influx of diverse cultures would eventually become a hallmark of New York City's identity. The Dutch West India Company encouraged trade and commerce, and the city became a hub for the exchange of goods such as furs, tobacco, and sugar. As the city expanded, so did its infrastructure. In 1658, the Dutch built a wall to protect the city from potential threats, which would later become the famous Wall Street. The wall marked the northern boundary of the city, and the area outside it became known as the outskirts. This physical barrier also symbolized the growing divide between the city's European inhabitants and the Native American population, who were increasingly being pushed out of their ancestral lands. The English conquest of New Netherland in 1664 marked a significant turning point in the city's history. The English renamed the city New York after the Duke of York, later King James II, and introduced their own system of government, laws, and institutions. Despite this change, the city continued to grow and prosper, with trade and commerce remaining at its core. During this period, New York City became a hotbed of cultural and intellectual activity. The city's first newspaper, the New York Gazette, was established in 1725, providing a platform for news, opinions, and ideas to be shared among the population. The city's first theater, the Nassau Street Theater, was built in 1732, offering a venue for performances and entertainment. The 18th century also saw significant advancements in education and learning. In 1746, King's College, later renamed Columbia University, was founded, providing an institution of higher learning that would go on to shape the city's intellectual landscape. The city's first library, the New York Society Library, was established in 1754, offering access to books and knowledge for its members. The city's unique blend of cultures, its strategic location, and its entrepreneurial spirit all contributed to its emergence as a major force in the American colonies. The late 18th century saw the city play a pivotal role in the American Revolution. In 1776, the Continental Congress drafted the Declaration of Independence, which was read aloud in New York City's City Hall Park. The city became a key location for the war effort, with many notable figures, including George Washington, playing important roles in the fight for independence. In the mid-19th century, New York City experienced a period of rapid expansion, with its population growing from approximately 300,000 in 1840 to over 1 million by 1870. This growth was fueled by an influx of immigrants from Europe, particularly from Ireland and Germany, who came to the city seeking work and a better life. However, this rapid growth also put a strain on the city's infrastructure, leading to issues with housing, sanitation, and public health. One of the most significant challenges facing the city during this period was the rise of poverty and inequality. The wealthy elite, who had made their fortunes in industries such as finance and real estate, lived in luxury, while the working class struggled to make ends meet. This led to the growth of slums, such as the notorious 5 Points neighborhood, where thousands of people lived in squalid conditions. Despite these challenges, New York City continued to be a hub of innovation and progress. The city was at the forefront of the Industrial Revolution, with new technologies and industries emerging all the time. The construction of the Brooklyn Bridge in 1883, which connected the cities of Brooklyn and New York, was a major engineering feat that symbolized the city's ingenuity and ambition. However, the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the city face significant decline. The rise of suburbanization and the growth of other cities in the United States led to a decline in the city's population and economic influence. The city's infrastructure, which had been built to accommodate the rapid growth of the 19th century, was beginning to show its age, and the city struggled to maintain its services and amenities. The mid-20th century saw the city hit rock bottom, with poverty, crime, and decay becoming major issues. The construction of the interstate highway system, which cut through many of the city's neighborhoods, led to the displacement of thousands of people and the destruction of communities. The city's economy was also struggling, with many of its traditional industries, such as manufacturing and shipping, in decline. However, in the 1970s and 1980s, the city began to experience a resurgence. The city's government, led by mayors such as John Lindsay and Ed Koch, implemented policies aimed at revitalizing the city's economy and improving its infrastructure. The city also saw a growth in the arts and culture, with the emergence of new neighborhoods such as Soho and Tribeca, which became hubs for artists and creatives. Today, New York City is once again a thriving metropolis, with a diverse population and a strong economy. The city's legacy as a hub of innovation and progress continues to inspire people from all over the world. In conclusion, our journey through New York City's history has shown us that the city's growth and transformation have been shaped by a complex interplay of factors, including immigration, innovation, and economics. Despite facing significant challenges and decline, the city has always managed to reinvent itself, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the history of New York City. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.